Do a review on the Kuta Sichas in Chelek of Base in volume 22. This is the first Sikha for the Parshas Acherei. It's a Rashi Sikha. The Rebbe explains a Rashi in which Rashi discusses that the Kohen Gadol only put on the four garments whenever he did the work inside of the oil moyed in the Avodas Pnim. And the Rebbe says seemingly this Rashi means one thing, but if you look at the words, the Rebbe tries to suggest first one way, the other way, but then the Rebbe says there's a lot more in this Rashi. The Rebbe reveals to us tremendously the real pshat in the Rashi, and also every word in the Rashi is precise and is accurate, and there is also a halachic uh, difference between the way Rashi learns and the way the Rambam learns, as the Rebbe explains in the Sikha. We'll go step by step. First, the Rebbe brings down the Rashi. Aleph, B'tchilas Parshosenu, in the beginning of our Parsha of Acherei, Buazver der Zelt, there it's related, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Hashem says to Moshe, Daber el Arin Goymer, speak to Aaron, etc. He should not come in any times into the Kodesh, meaning to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Pasuk says, Bizois Yovoi Aaron el HaKodesh, that this, would Aaron come to the Kodesh, that in addition to the fact that he's not allowed to just go in any time into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but when he does go in on Yom Kippur, he must, that's the way Rashi learns, that's what he must do, Bezois Yavai Arin al HaKodesh, he must bring the following korbanos when he comes into the Kodesh. And the Torah talks about brings down two korbanos, the por for a chatos and an ayil for an oila. And then the pasuk says, "Kesoines bad kodesh yilbosh goymer," that he, the kohen gadol, should wear the shirt of bad. Over misnefes bad goes through the etc. All the other garments, that all the garments, the four garments that the pasuk mentions, the mitznefes, avnit, bad, yakir, that he serves with these four godim. So, stellt sich Rashi, if the Werter Kseines bad goyver, und is mefarish. So Rashi bases himself on the words Kseines bad, and he explains, what does this pasuk tell us? Magid, this tells us, She'einoi mishamesh lifnim b'shmoina b'godim shu mishamesh b'hem b'chutz sheyesh b'hem zov, that he does not serve the Kohen Gadol, his service that takes place inside. He does not use 8 begodim. Normally, a Kohen Gadol, the Kohen Hedjid has 4 begodim. The Kohen Gadol has 4 additional, has a total of 8 begodim. So this pasuk is telling us that he does not serve with the 8 begodim shu mishamesh b'hem b'chutz, that he would serve with them. Those on the outside, when it's not pnim, when it's not avodas pnim inside, but on the outside sheyesh b'hem zov. The problem is that they also have these 4 garments, additional garments. They also have gold in them. Yesh b'hem zov. There is gold intertwined in the other garments of the Kohen Gadol, the choshen, the ephod. So therefore, we don't want him to use it. Why? Lefi she'ein kateger nase saneger. Because the kateger, the one who is the prosecution, cannot become the defense, since we're coming to atone for the sin of the Egel Hazov, which was made out of gold. So we can't have gold doing the atonement when we're coming to atone for a sin of gold. So therefore, those 4 garments that contain gold in them, the Kohen Gadol would not wear them in the service when he did it bifnim, inside. Elo, be'arbo ki kohen hedyet. But he only used the 4 garments just like an ordinary kohen. V'kulon shalbutz, and all these were made out of linen. They were not gold. They were just made out of linen, and therefore they're okay. Those 4 are okay, but the extra 4 the Kohen Gadol did not use. Well, the Rebbe is going to explain the whole arichas in Rashi and everything with all the details. The Pashtus is the pshat in Pirush Rashi. What's the simple meaning in Rashi? This is not the place where we're talking about the garments of the Kohen Gadol, what he needs to wear. We learned earlier in the Chumash about the different garments that were made for the Kohen Gadol. So why is the Pasuk all of a sudden telling us the 4 garments that the Kohen Gadol wore over here? So we're learning that this is to tell us that he only wore 4 garments and not to exclude the 8. The pasuk doesn't say beferish that he didn't wear the other 4. The Torah just says the 4 that he should wear. So Rashi says that this is teaching us that he only wore 4 and not 8. The Pashtus is the pshat in Pirush Rashi. What is simply the meaning in Rashi's commentary? He's coming to answer was do steht der Zivui of Anton di Begodim. Over here, the Torah commands to put on the garments. It says, "Ksoines bad kodesh yilbash, u'ba'avnit bad yachder, u'mistafes bad yitznoif." And then the pasuk big de kodesh hem gomer leveshim, that these are holy garments. You should put them on. Why are we talking about here what he needs to put on? V'anayezach, as if this is something new. We don't know that he has to wear the garments by when he does a service. Achidush davar, this is something, a novelty. B'shas dos yishem feirish noch in Parshas Tetzaveh. This has already been clearly articulated in the portion of Tetzaveh. Side that etzem chiyuv to machen di begodim. Both we learned about the obligation to make, how to construct these garments. Usai der chiyuv zei zu trogen, and also that there is an obligation to wear them when you're going to do the service. When they come, when the Kohanim come to the Oyel Moyed, or when they come close to the Mizbeach L'Shodesh B'Kodesh, to serve in the holy, either going into the Pnim, to the Oyel Moyed, or on the Mizbeach, which is on the outside, in the Chotzer, still they have to wear those garments, and they should not carry a sin and die. So we know that they have to wear these garments. So was gid zu der tzivu doi by dibul Aaron. So what is adding here by Aaron to tell him that he has to put on the garments? So Rashi is telling us that what the pasuk is telling us here is not that you have to wear garments when you are doing the service, but the pasuk means to say that only these garments, to exclude, but not the other 4 garments. He said, Rashi mevayer. So Rashi explains, as der pasuk kumdo zogan, what the pasuk is coming to tell us, magid, to teach us, to tell us. We're not trying to tell you what are the garments that you have to wear when you go in, but to try to tell you that you only wear this and not the others. Nit ois tzerechem. The pasuk does ogum magid. Nit ois tzerechem and the big kahuna. We're not coming here just to enumerate the garments of the kahuna. Undem tzivui, and the instruction as medarze anton that you must wear them. You must put them on. When megeta rein zu ton david the bekoides, to go in, you must wear them when you're going in to do the service. in the holiness. That's not what the pasuk is coming to tell us over here. Nor as a daf onton blois di begodim, but the pasuk is trying to tell you, Magi, that we only have to wear these garments. We need the shmeine begodim, but not the 8 garments. Wegen welchem hat gelernt früher in Parshas Tetzaveh, which we had learned earlier in Parshas Tetzaveh, as in Zei is Aaron Meshamish Alamol, that Aaron serves all the time in 8 garments. So the pasuk is telling you, no, it's only these 4 and not the other ones. But the Rebbe says that doesn't really sit well with the word Magid that Rashi says. So this Magid means to teach us something that is not evident in the pasuk, to tell you, but this says beferish in the pasuk that these are the 4 and only these 4. That's quite clear in the pasuk itself. Why is Rashi saying Magid? We still need to have understand. Sofas tevas Magid in Pirush Rashi. When Rashi has the word Magid, is b'derech klal in afal. Usually, it's in a case when the inyan was Rashi zogt steht nit bepshat haposik mefurish. When the idea that Rashi is stating here is not written beferish in the posik, in the simple meaning of the posik. Nor Magid, it's coming to teach us. The posik zogen a gewisse Sach. The posik is coming to tell us something specific, to tell us, to teach us something. In addition to what it says in the pasuk clearly, it's coming to teach us Magid. He's done it verstandig. So here, in our case, we don't understand why is Rashi saying the word Magid. This idea that he only puts on 4 garments, not 8 garments, stayed befedish in the pasuk. That says very clearly in the pasuk. So why is Magid? I should say that ain't a Meshamish with the 8, only the 4. But why is Magid to teach us? Also, the end, the Rashi is a long language here in the end. Not the 8, Elobarbo Kikoyen Hedyut, Bekulon Shel Butz. What does Rashi mean with this addition? Only with the 4 of a Koyen Hedyut, and they're all made out of linen. Aleph. Mezetim Posik. Pasuk says that there's 4. So why does Rashi have to add his vos dafes Rashi zone? Why does Rashi have to say that? Rashi could have said that he doesn't serve with the 8 begotten that he usually serves. And the fact that he's doing with 4, Rashi doesn't have to say that. The pasuk says the 4 begotten that you use. So why is Rashi say Elo Barbo? And the second thing is Rashi is coming to tell us Kikoin Hedget. Base bosses are meisiv machadish kikoyin hedged. Why is he coming to add and tells us a novelty like a koyin hedged? Meveis just showing from Frier in Parshas Tetzaveh. We already know this from Parshas Tetzaveh that a koyin hedged wears as a koyin hedged trok nor arbo begodim. It only wears 4 begodim. So we don't have to say that like a koyin hedged. That's already obvious. We know that already. Either way, let's say that we didn't know that a kohen. But why is it important to us to know what the kohen hedjit wears? We just say Allah barba that this kohen gadol does. Whether we know it from before or we don't know it from before, he still doesn't have to say like a kohen hedjit because he's wearing the 4 because that's what the pasuk says for the kohen gadol in this case. And number 4, the question is, why does Rashi say v'kulon shel butz? They're all made out of linen. Stay beferish impossible by yedon for the begodim. It says by each one of the garments. It says ksoines bad kodesh. Michne say bad. Wavnit bad. Also says by each one of the begodim as it will sein from bad. It must be linen. That the pasuk says beferish. What is Rashi? Moise v'kulon shel butz. Why is Rashi adding that they're all made out of linen? Kulam shel butz. Butz and bad is the same thing. But we already see this in the pasuk. So there's a lot more Rashi's trying to tell you over here. Something more that is not at the simple as we thought before, as the Rebbe will explain it later on. But now in Ois Gimel, the Rebbe is coming to say that maybe there could be a whole different shot over here, that maybe actually the Maggid is coming to tell you that this whole idea that is only wearing 4 because the Pasuk says that you only 4, maybe we can learn it differently. That he really wears 8, but the 4 that the 4 begodim, the pasuk is not trying to tell you that he doesn't wear the other 8. He wears all of them, but the Torah is coming to tell you that there's a difference in the makeup of these garments of linen, whether they were woven or they're just are made out of a single thread, not because usually, as we'll see, they were woven. But Rashi says no. They are the same as the kohen hedges. There's no difference in the way they were made. Maybe that's why not coming to tell you. So Rashi's telling you no, Magid, that he wears only 4 and he doesn't wear the 8. Let's look inside. Gimel. You can't learn it. It seems like maybe we could interpret as Rashi kum shöyle sein Gor another Pirush, that Rashi is coming here to reject another possible interpretation. Learning the posik seines bat kodesh goymer, as we learned the posik, that he should wear this seines of bad. What man can't sagen. One could argue and say, has meveshev parshas tetzaveh. Since we already know from the portion of tetzaveh, as Aaron Kohen Gadol hot shmeina begodim, that Aaron the Kohen Gadol had 8 garments, was alle seinen, all 8 together, alechaved ulusipores, they're meant for honor and for beauty for the Kohen Gadol. So how come when he enters once a year into the Holy of Holies, this special Avodah, so that Anton nor 4 von die begodim, he should be putting on only 4 of the garments, or need the andere 4 and not the other 4. Mimaid sein in them lechaved l'sifaris, to diminish the honor and the beauty. So that's something which there's a problem with. You would have a problem. So how would you learn? That's why one can learn what would have learned as the Posikum in as a darf onto nor di 4 begodim. Could have said that the pasuk is not coming to tell us that you only have to put these 4 and not others. Bottom says pashut, because you would say it's obvious as a naf onton b'mekolshke for agansion that he needs to put on all 8 for sure, because even if the whole year he puts on 8 for sure, Yom Kippur. That pasuk comes zogen them shinu should be Yom Kippurim. What is the pasuk coming to tell us? Not only 4, but to tell you the change, what takes place in Yom Kippur. As di dalet begodim darf zayin dalet b'yema darf zayin dalmo b'yema kippurim. These 4 begodim, this regular 4 begodim that are normally made out of linen, but on Yom Kippur they need to be different. Anders, they need to be different. That's what the pasuk is telling us. How are they different? Agans your zayin di dalet begodim all year, as said in these 4 garments, we gesagt in Parshas Tetzaveh, it says there hakesoines sheish, mitznefes sheish, va'avneg is given. It says sheish mozor. It was a twisted. They had the linen, the threads. The threads with mozor was twisted, so it came from strands that were mozor. Mashenkin do b'yom kippurim. Over here, Yom Kippurim is kshenis bad, umichnes bad, uvavnid bad, going mitznefes bad. Everything is just plain linen. It's not twisted. It's a single strand. Nit sheish mozor, not a twisted strand. Norein chut, this is actually made out of a single strand, and you weave that strand to make that clothing. The riber read the pasuk nor wegen der levisha from the dalad begod. That's why the Torah is only talking about these garments, because these are the only four garments that we changed. We changed for the avodah of the four begodim of the Kohen Gadol with what he served on Yom Kippur, that it didn't come from linen that was twisted, but it was a one strand linen. That's what the pasuk is telling us. So Rashi tells das is Rashi Shoylel mit sein Pirush Magidchu. This Rashi rejects by saying, no, Magi, this is telling us, Nit v'mehotki can't learn it. Not like you could have learned. As the Pasuk is nor mefared dem shinui, that the Pasuk is just making the change, the way, the construction of the garments that are used on Yom Kippur. But no, the Pasuk is telling you that there is actually a change in the number of garments. Nit v'modki can't learn it. Not like you may have learned as the Pasuk is nor mefared dem shinu. The Pasuk only explains this change. Belche is not in the Dalet Begodim, which only changes in these four garments. Aber is nit shoylel de levisha from the andere Dalet Begodim, but he does not reject the dressing up from the other four garments. Though that's not true. Rashi tells you, Magid, that's not true. Nor eine mishamish lefnim b'shmeine begodim, but rather he does not serve in the inside with the 8 garments. Der Pasuk kommt shoylo zayin the begodim shu mishamish behem b'chutz. When the Pasuk is coming to negate here, reject that he doesn't use the regular garments that he uses outside. But only in the 4, like a koyin hedyot, when he does the pnim. So the Magid is coming to tell us not to erroneously think that the only difference is that it's a different kind of construction of the garments of linen, but rather that he only wears linen and he doesn't wear the other begodim at all. That's what Rashi is coming to tell us. But still, the word Magid, the Rebbe asks in Dalet, isn't clear. The Magid not clear. And also, the language of Rashi that Rebbe will bring out seems almost like he's saying something different. The kulon shel butz is not the, seems like he's trying to say what the construction of it is. Let's look inside. Dalet. Aber euch der Pirush is schwer, but also this interpretation to explain this way Rashi is difficult. Why? Noisef was, in addition to this, was euch le Pirush is nit glatik doisofa magid. Also, according to this, the additional word magid, instead of just saying she'ena mishamish, is why is magid? But safe is Rashi nit meisif oif hamefurish b'posik. In the end, even though Rashi is coming to negate a mistaken interpretation, but in the posik he's not adding it. It's not magid something else. And his bloy shoyle la pirush mutter. Rashi is just rejecting a mistaken interpretation. Nit vid the mashmos haposik, not like the seemingly understanding of the posik. Rashi tells you differently, but he's not telling you anything more that is not in the pasuk. He's just telling you that don't make a mistake and learn it correctly. So why is the word magid? Magid usually says something else. So in addition to that, is noisiv of them. In addition to that, they're seen from Pirush Rashi. The Rashi's end. Rashi says he serves in the 4 begodim kikoyin hedyut v'kulam shalbutz, and they're all made out of linen. Is not ibrik. It's not only, as we asked before, why do we have to say this? But this actually emphasizes just the opposite. As Gita Mokim Litos, this allows us to make a mistake, as the Chidush from Posik is indeed Dalet Begodim, that the novelty the Posik is trying to tell us about these Begodim was the Posik Rechot Yois, that the Posik is counting as kulon shel butz. Somehow we're talking about, we should know that these are all garments of butz, but that wasn't the issue. Heipech hanal in Pirush Rashi. This is opposite. We tried to explain Rashi. As der Chidush from Posik is blois in dem was trokt nit the andere vier big days off. The Posik is coming to tell us that he only wears the 4 and not 8. So don't make a mistake. And here we're emphasizing, oh, these 4 are made out of butts, but that's not what the issue, not what Rashi is coming to tell us. Rashi is coming to tell us that we only take 4 and not 8. So why would Rashi say Kulam Shobot? So this is something else over here, as the Rebbe will explain now. The Rebbe says what bothers Rashi is the placement of this word, of this statement that he works with that he serves with these 4 garments. It's placed in first. The pasuk starts off by saying that Aaron comes with the 2 korbanos. The pasuk mentions over here the parve bokor lechatas va'ayla oila, and then the pasuk tells us with what he serves. And the placement, why the pasuk say it over here, not in the beginning or at the end. And the Pashtus one learns that both of these korbanos that the pasuk mentions were done with the big day, with the butts, but that's not true. As I say, let's look inside. Hey, is there an explanation in this? Rashi kommt verantworten a Shaila, verstellt sich im Pasuk. Rashi is coming to answer a question that comes up in the Pasuk. Why is the Pasuk telling us about putting on the garments over here in this spot? It seems that this should have been written other far the korbanos from them kohen gadol b'yom kippurim. Either this should have been before all the avodas and the korbanos of the kohen gadol b'yom kippurim. The Torah says bezois yova arim first bepar ben bokor. So before saying bepar ben bokor, should have said how you serve in the on Yom Kippur. So either before all the Vedas Kabbanas then Kohen Gadol B'Yom Kippurim in the Friedikim Pasuk, meaning in the previous Pasuk, not after Par Ben Bokor V'Ayil Oilo, just start off that Ksoinis Bat Kodesh Yilbosh Mitznaf Bat Yitznaf, and then say B'Zeis Yovei or the know them, or afterwards with the Pasuk Rechan Tois the Allah Vedas. After the Torah goes through, enumerates all the services was at Gedarf Ton, Zain Dik Ongeton in the Begotim that he had to do when he was dressed in these garments. But for them was the Torah Zogdem Tzivudo, the fact that the Torah tells the command over here, Gleich Nochdem Posik, Bezois Goimer. It says it immediately, Bezois Bepar Ben Bokor Lachatas Va'aylo. We mentioned the 2 korbanos. The par, the bull that he brought for a chatas, and the ram that was brought for an oilo. Both pashas gilaron. So one would assume, as the arba begotim tutor on, nor by them par ben bokor lechatos va'ayilo. By these 2, he puts on these 4 garments, because right afterwards the pasuk says the pasuk says bad kodesh yilbosh, as soon as we tell you about these korbanos. The korbanos hamiyuchodim loy b'yom kippurim. Those are the specific korbanos for the kohen gadol on Yom Kippur, the par ben bokor lechatos and the ayil oilo. And therefore, by this korbanos, he has to do that. But we know the fact is that is not true, because we see in the pasuk b'ferish meile bad par ben bokor lechatos. We know that was done. They sprinkled the blood inside. They brought it inside. So therefore, that was done with the 4 garments. But the ayila oila, we see b'ferish in the pasuk that it was done with the 8th begodim. But from the psukim weiter is clear, but from the verses later on, it's very clear. As Aleph number 1, oilos soy, his oila, the oila of the kohen gadol, the ayila oila werd giton in andere begodim. that is done in other garments. Pasuk says, "Velovash as begodov." Later on, he should put on his garments. The pasuk talks over there before he goes and does the ayla oila says his garments. What does it mean? His garments was thus main the shmeina begodim shua ovid behem kol yemei sashana. That means the 8 garments that he serves them all year, as Rashi says. So he does put on all the 8 garments to do the ayla oila. Here the pasuk is telling us after the ayla oila that you wear the garments. Beis. The number 2 as the Allah avodas bis oilosik. So in between, the Torah discusses over there the 2 seirim, the 2 goats that were brought. The shnei seiris in lechatos. There were 2 goats for lechatos. For Nadas b'nei Yisrael of the community. One was sent blazozel and one was service with the goyrel. Und avodas haketoides, and then you have the service of the ketoides was werden oisgerechem. Those are enumerated noch unser Pasuk, after our Pasuk. Darfen euch getan werden in the Arba Begodim. They must be done also in the 4 Begodim, as we learn later on in the Parsha. So this that he comes with a Mizch Zevad after enumerating this Karbonis cannot be talking about just these 2 Karbonis because it's not true. First of all, the other Karbonis also needed to have the 4 Begodim, and the Ayaloila had the Shemaina Begodim, so doesn't apply there. Then if it's Rashi Mefarish, so that's what Rashi explains. Magid she'ene mishamesh lifnim, b'shemaina begodim she'mishamesh behem b'chutz chulu. This teaches us that he doesn't serve on the inside with the 8 garments that he does on the outside. What does it mean to say? Although the simple reading of the verse seemingly appears to say, Asis negeya to debate the korban, is that this kshonis bad kodesh is it connects and it's important for both korbanos, for the chatos and the oila. The truth of the matter is that's not true. It only applies to the chatos and not to the oila. Although the simple meaning of the verse appears as is negate to debate the korbanos was very gesagt in the composing that it's connected to the both korbanos which are said in the previous pasuk. Seider chatos and seider oilo is der pirush nicht azoy. The interpretation is not so. Nor the pasuk kum zogun, but the pasuk actually is coming to tell us as eine mishamesh lifnim b'shmeine begodim shu mishamesh ben b'chutz, that you don't serve inside with the 8 with the garments that you serve on the outside, and therefore, what is of these 2 korbanos that you do the inside is only the chatas. Where do we offer the ayla oila? We bring it on the outside. Only idach, but on the other hand, the Allah weiter the avoidis, all the later on the services that we read in the pasuk, the seirim, the ketoides, the hazoyas hadam, und the shnei seire izim, und the ketoides chulu. So now the actually korbanos, the seire izim were done. The korban was also done on the mizbeach outside, but that's what Rebbe says. Both. It doesn't mean that we're made fully inside. The ketoides was done in the inside, but the karbonis was litzoidach is doch als bifnim, because the sprinkling of the blood, even though the actual karbonis was on the outside, but the sprinklings of the blood of the chatos took place on the inside. The azoyas hadam for the shnei siri izim und the ketoides chulu is the chals b'fnim or their tzorich pnim. The Rebbe articulates here in the ha'ara that they're talking about if the blood goes into the side, into the inside, so then the avodah that takes place on the outside is still considered to be an avodas pnim. So, therefore, ubemela verze giton in the arba begodim. That's why they're done in the four garments, because they are all connected to the avodas pnim. Und das Gufe ist der Tam, was der Inyan Abegodim steht Davke da noch im Posuk. And this is actually the reason why the idea of the Begodim says in this Posuk, after Bezois Yove Aren Ala Kodesh Goymer. Nit frier for alle Korbanis, not before all the Korbanis, so nit später, and not later on, noch dem Siyum for the Korbanos of Miyuchad V'Yom Kippurim, after the end of the Korbanos that are designated, especially on Kippur. Why did the Torah put in the middle? Medem zog der Posik, that's what the Posik is actually telling you, as the Levisha from the Fir Begodim, that why are we putting on the four garments is nit mitzad Avedas Hayom from Yom Kippurim. It's not because of the service of Yom Kippurim. Not because of the service, because if it would be the service, then it would include everything. It would be in the beginning and the end. Nor mitzad bezois yovei arin ala kodesh. That with what arin comes to the kodesh, which means that chidush from Yom Kippurim, the novelty, when it comes to special service in Yom Kippur, the shimush bifnim, the fact that you serve on the inside. Der shimush bifnim can need zayin mitshmein begodim, because serving on the inside cannot be with 8 garments. Shu mishamish ben b'chutz, that he serves on the outside. So normally we'd say shu mishamish ben b'chutz means all year that he serves. But here we're talking, Rashi is making the distinction within Yom Kippur himself, that you can't serve Bezois Yov Arin Ela Kodesh with the 8 that he serves on the outside on Yom Kippur. The other kaponas, like the Oila, the Ayla Oila, that is Avedis Chutz. Over there he can wear the garments because it's not an Avedis Pnim. Since it's Bezois Yov Arin Ela Kodesh, there is a distinction over here what the service is. If it's done in the novelty of Yom Kippur, that you bring it on the inside, or it's connected to the inside, so then you serve in the 4 garments, but not like the Avodas Chutz. Was do meinter beiker. What Rashi means here mainly, nitem shimush b'chol yemei sashona. We're not talking about the fact that all year he serves with 8 garments. We're talking about here that he serves in the outside, but Yom Kippurim is itself. So the Rebbe learns that the reason why it's placed over here after Bezois Yovei Arin Ela Kodesh to teach us that it has to do with what goes into the pnim. If it's said in the beginning, you would associate it with the Avodas Yom Kippurim in the beginning or in the end. But it comes after Bezois Yovei Arin Ela Kodesh. And Ela Kodesh is the Avodas Pnim, because you can't have the service that he does b'chutz to do it in the pnim. And the Rebbe says now there's another answer to a problem would seem that Rashi doesn't address. This also answers a surprise. Why Rashi does not answer a problem that comes up in the simple meaning of the verse. Since we say that the prosecution cannot become the defense, you can't use gold, you have a problem. That's why he's not allowed to serve with the garments of gold. So how come on the outside he should serve with the garments of gold? Yom Kippur, the whole Avodah here has associated with Kippurim. So why just in the inside? Why not in the outside? Everywhere we should have not doing any service with the golden garments. So why don't we ask the same question all year round? How come the Kohen Gadol wears 8 garments which have gold in them when he does this service? But all year round, it's not set up as a day of atonement. So even though there's atonement going on, so you can say it's okay to use gold. But here we're saying that in the day of atonement, we can't use gold because you can't have the katega nasis anegir. How could you have the katega nasis anegir on the outside? As it relates to the service of the Kohen Gadol all year round. Even when he does a service, the Kohen Gadol, which idea is atonement, he can't answer. Whether you could answer as ein katege nasis anege. When do we say this issue? When do we have an issue with the prosecution becoming the defense? Zokt menorin yema kippuri. We can say he said it on Kippur. It was called in Yonah because the entire aspect von dem Tag is Shmoi Kippurim, because what is this day? It's an atonement day. Und therefore, darf die Avodah von dem Tag sein, and that's why the service of this day must be mit Aziris v'Yechedes, with a special being very careful. Nicht geben kein Ort für an von Katege. We cannot give any room for any criticism, so we can't use things of criticism in the defense because we have to be very careful. It's a day of atonement. But here we're saying, but as far as it relates to the service of Yom Kippurim itself, is nicht verstandig, so it's not understood. The Gans Avedis Yom Kippurim, all of the service of Yom Kippur, whether it's the service on the inside or is the service on the outside. But nit gedarf sein, big days off, they should not have been with the golden garments. Is the Bir Bazeh. So what is the explanation? Ongedaited in them was the posik, Seines Bad Goimer. It is hinted to, or it's pointed out to, in the fact that the posik, Seines Bad Kodesh, kum behemshech zum posik Bezois Yove Aaron Goimer, that it comes as a follow-up to the posik Bezois Yove Aaron, which talks about going into the Kodesh. Durch magdim sein gleich bas cholasav eides Yom Kippurim de Werter. The fact that the Torah starts off right in the beginning of the service of Yom Kippur with the words Bezois Yove Goimer bepar Goimer, that he should come bepar Bezois bepar, lernt uns der Posik. The Posik teaches us as the Nekudas for Yom Kippurim that what is the point of Yom Kippurim? Nit the Avodas Hayoim. It's not the service of the day, nor Yovei Arin ala Kodesh. Bezois Yovei Arin ala Kodesh. We're talking about Arin coming to the Kodesh. The Knisa le Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Pnim, the working, the entrance, going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the Pnim. That's what it's about, the Avodah. Those bring the Kapora Shel Yom Kippurim. That what brings the atonement of Yom Kippur. Nor Bichdei, the Knisa Zol, the Kodesh Zol Zayin, wie es darf zu sein. In order for the entrance to be as it should be, needs with this, as we require here various different kinds of korbanos and services, both in the inside and the outside. Needs to be bechutz. But that's not the main kapora. The main kapora is the V'zeish Yoveh. The Mele is verstandig, so now we understand. As the Bavornish von ein Kateger Nasis Aneger, this cautioning us that we can't have the criticizer, the prosecution cannot become the defense, is beiked in them ort from Kapor de Yom Kippurim. Mainly, this issue we have is the place of the atonement of Yom Kippurim, in the Avodah B'Finim, in the service that takes place inside. So now the Rebbe is explaining the rest of the Rashi, Rashi's end, that is saying that it's like a Kohen Hedget. The Rebbe explains that one would think that the Kohen Gadol is losing out on Yom Kippur because it takes away from the Chavod Luciparis. Yeah, because of an issue of Ein Katege Nasis Hanege, we can't have the prosecution be the defense, but still, uh, it still looks like he's missing, taking it away from the Kohen Gadol. Rashi's telling us, no, he's like a Kohen Hedjid, which means it's not taking away from him, but he serves like a Kohen Hedjid. Let's look inside. Zion. The Baal das Leut Pirush Rashi is der Chidush from Posik. Ksoines Bad Goimer in der Shalila, that the Ksoines Bad Kodesh is coming to tell us that no, that we don't use the 8 garments. As bifnin tormenit mishamesh zaimi the big days of that in the inside you're not allowed to serve with the golden garments. Because we can't have the prosecution become the defense. Is nidglati. So this is not smooth. When we learn the psukim in Parshas Tetzaveh, we read the portion of the Tzaveh. Zetman the Goydel Hazihiris, but the Zayin by Levish Zabgodim. We see how careful we need to be when we wear the garments. We want this service should be done in a way of honor and beauty. So the Torah is very particular about there. To the extent, one who serves, if the Kohen Gadol serves and doesn't have all of his garments, or a Kohen, anybody serves without their garments that they need to wear, is punishable by Misa. Hein, by death. As to leave. So why is it that because we have an issue that we can't have the prosecution become the defense, so the Kohen Gadol needs Zayin B'Shleimus, so it means that the Kohen Gadol is not in his wholesomeness, L'Kovid Luciferis, to be for honor and beauty. He's not even allowed to wear the full number of garments as he usually does. So the Rebbe said that the if we would have learned, let's look inside. Yes, Lois. Both men gelernt as b'yom Kippurim is adin miyuchad b'negei big day kahuna. If we said that on Yom Kippur there's a special din as far as the big day kahuna, as the Kohen Gadol darf trogen an ander sug begodim. He needs to wear a different type, a different category of garments. It is designated for Yom Kippur. Is nit azay kosher. That would not be so problematic if we gave us a different set of clothing for the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. Why? The Kishen v'bechol yemeis hashana Torah angezogt adin from Shmoyne begodim to Kohen Gadol. Just like all year round, the Torah had instructed that the law is you need 8 garments for a Kohen Gadol. So then Torah also instructed a din from Daled Begodim Miyuchotim LeYom Kippurim, a special din of 4 garments specifically for Yom Kippur. The Baal Oberas Leit Rashi is the talking din v'chidush miyuchad. According to Rashi, there is no halacha, special novelty in the Daled Begodim was the Kohen Gadol trucked in the 4 garments that the Kohen Gadol is wearing. Says nor faran. All what it is, we're just taking away. It's faran on isur sutrog big days of b'yom kippurim. We're saying you can't carry. We're just taking away. We're taking away from these 8 garments. Ver the kasha safe. The question is, kum to is as the Kohen Gadol is davke b'yom kippurim ki lam chusay begodim davke on Yom Kippur. It's as if he's lacking garments. So the farm was Rashi vavornen. That's what Rashi must tell us, answer, as the Kohen Gadol troktar bo ke Kohen Hedjit, that he wears like a Kohen Hedjit. Das was der Kohen Gadol trok bifnim nor arbo begodim. This that he wears in the inside only 4 garments is nicht der Pshat as talked 4 for seine 8 begotten. It doesn't mean that he's wearing 4 out of his 8 garments that he's missing. Nor that is damut mishamish v'akoyin hedjed. Right then he's mechamis he's like an ordinary coin. Was misper begotten is melachat chila arba. To begin with, an ordinary coin only has 4 garments to begin with. But not that we should look at it that Kohen Gadol is missing from the Kovid Luciferis because he can't wear all of his 8 garments. And now the Rebbe answers the last word in Rashi when the mitveh toich benech verstehen them sim loshon Rashi. The end of Rashi's language v'kulon shel boots they're all made out of linen. Kavonis Rashi. Rashi's intent is nicht nur zu matgish sein as die Dalle begodim seine nit keninye shel category. It doesn't mean to emphasize here only that this is made out of linen, and therefore there is no problem, there is no prosecution here, there's no gold here. Because they're all linen. But this is also an additional proof as the shimush b'fnim b'yom kippurim that he serves it the inside the kohen gadol Yom Kippur is kohen hedjed is like an ordinary kohen and not like a kohen gadol who we took away 4 of his garments. Wegen dem Avnet shel Aaron steht in Parshas Pekudei with regards to the belt that Aaron wore, specifically Aaron versus the ordinary kohanim. It says as that is gemach geworden that it was made sheish mozor, a twisted linen, uscheles vargomon. It had also the kinds of tcheles and argomon, betelas shoni, and telas shoni ma'aser reikim, the work of a reikim. In Parshas Tetzaveh, this is in Pekudei. In Parshas Tetzaveh, wo steht der Tzivor Pasiyas Habgodi, where the Torah tells us about making the garment, steht nor as the Avnet of Zayin Ma'aser Reikim. It says it's made the work of a Reikim. But as Oktober nicht dabei, von welchem Min oder Minim, it doesn't give the details. Tcheles HaKomet Lashonim. Wird gemacht. It doesn't say how you're made. In Pekudei. But when they actually made the begodim, in Tetzaveh was the command to make them. Over there in Pekudei, we read about how they were made. State as Avneto Shalarin Kohen Gadol is given for the Dalet Miniman. How was for the 4 kinds? This is a gewaltige Chiddush the Rebbe is presenting now. Come to is as Avneto Shalarin is nit nor from bad. That his belt was not just made out of linen. That he has a linen belt. Is der von gedrucken. That's why we derive as the begodim seinen nicht the big the kohen gadol. This is not the kohen gadol's garment, not the seinen the arba kohen hedjed. For the kohen hedjed, the kohen hedjed's belt was not made out of these 4 kinds. Rashi nimmt on b'pshuto shel mikra, and Rashi learned pshuto shel mikra. Ados was the posik tell to us abneite shel Aaron in Parshas Pekudei. Why does the Torah just tell us the construction of Aaron's? Is because Aaron's belt was different than all the Kohen's belts. The ordinary, the month need the abneitim from Bonov. He does not mention over there about the belts of his sons. Chotz dort gufa der month der posik the andere gimel begodim from Bnei Aaron. Although the pasuk does mention over there the other 3 garments of Bnei Aaron, but the Torah does not mention anything about the belts of Bnei Aaron, of the ordinary Kohanim. So Rashi learns Shuta Shemikra is while the pasuk red dort tafke wegen abneite shel Aaron. That pasuk is specifically talking about Aaron's belt. It was made out of sheish mosher. Mashe enkin the abneite for Bnei Aaron. As opposed to the belts of the sons of Aaron, they were made different. They were made just of linen, and that's why when Rashi adds over here, kulon shel butz, meaning that also the belt was made fully just of bad, without being intertwined with the other one, and that means that he served as a Kohen, because even that belt was not the regular Kohen Gadol belt, but it was the Kohen belt. V'yesh loymar, and the Rebbe says further, Adosis for the Inyonim Ufloim, Al derech ha'alocha shebepirush Rashi. This is from the wondrous thing according to halacha in this Rashi. Rashi is mechulek with the Rambam in the gather from the Big Day Kahuna, Big Day Kohen Gadol b'Yom Kippurim. Rashi disagrees with the Rambam in the definition of the garments of the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur. The Rambam zogt. The Rambam says Big Day Kahuna Shloisha Minim. He says there's three types of garments of Kahuna. You have the Big Day Kohen Hedger, the ordinary Kohen's Gadol, or Big Day Zov, or Big Day Lov. And you have the golden garments, and you have the Big Day Lov. L'shitas Rambam, according to the view of the Rambam, zayin the Big Day Lov and Sheyem Kippurim, that these garments of love and of the Yom Kippurim and under min begodim, there are different category of garments. Nit asi is an isur zu trogen Big Day Zoho. It's not that since there is a prohibition to wear the golden garments bifnim, and therefore remains by him not fear for seine acht begodim, only 4 of the 8 garments, because like we learned in Rashi, but by the Kohen, by the way the Rambam learns, no, that is a dritter min begodim. There's a different category of begodim you could wear. For Yom Kippur, we have a separate level of garments. Rashi is medayik, but Rashi emphasizes bifnim dafer mishamish zayin in arbo kohen hedjit, that he has to serve with 4 like a kohen hedjit. Kinal Baruch said earlier. In other words, it's not a separate category. It's not a new kind of garment that the Kohen Gadol wears. It's the Kohen Hedjit's garment. It serves like a Kohen Hedjit. Number 1. Derech says that the mechilik for Rashi with the Rambam in the mechilik Big Day Lov and Enochayin. Also, we can see the difference between Rashi and the Rambam with regards to the obligation of the Big Day Lov in another matter. The Rambam zogt. The Rambam says Avodas HaMiyuchodos L'Yom Zeh BeBig Day Lov, that the special services for that day come with white garments, with linen garments. Big Day Lov is Adin in Avodas HaYom. That means the service of the day requires Big Day Lov. Was the din is for Shverikite, but that we have a difficulty in the way the Rambam learns. If all the service of the day, so what is the Ayla Oila? Why does that not have the Rambam's view is difficult? Was the din is for Shverikite, it is difficult. The Ayla Oila and also Eila they are services that are specifically of Yom Kippur, and need Big Day Lov, and still they're not with the linen garments. And that's why it make a difficulty. But Rashi associates it not with Avodas Hayom, but Avodas Pnim. Rashi from Bin Tovadem Chiv from Big Day Lov Bit Pnim. Rashi connects the obligation of the Big Day Lov with the service they do on the inside. Since they totally Avodas Hayom, it doesn't hinge on the service of the day, nor in them ort from the Avodah. It's where the place you do the Avodah. Alts was vert giton in pnim. Everything that is done on the inside of the rakopanim to live up with this pnim, or at least minimally, it's done for the service of the inside. Darf giton veren be Big Day Lov needs to be done with the Big Day Lov. Warum? Because we get at frier, as we learned earlier. There's no Rashi b'shute shal mikra. So according to Rashi, the simple meaning of the verse, that iker kapora for Yom Kippurim, the main kapora of Yom Kippur, is mitzad der knisa lifnai v'lifnim, is because they're entering inside the zois yove'adn, as the Rebbe learned before. Und Avodas Hayoim seinem bloizat tnayum machshiv zu sein knisa, and the other services of the day are merely a condition and a preparation for his knisa. So the Rebbe brought down the 2 differences between Rambam and the Rashi, whether it's a different kind of a garment that the Kohen Gadol wore, or these are the Kohen Hedjed garments according to Rashi, or another difference, whether it is the service of Yom Kippur that requires Big Deloven. And then we have a problem about the Ayil Lo'ilu. How come that's not Bifnim? Or it is the Panim, according to Rashi. And the Rebbe says there are two things are connected. Yud Ula Yesh Loimar. Perhaps we can say as it's Svein Yonim and now these two above differences. Aleph, Tzi Big Deloven is Hayin Shlili, whether the garment of white are a matter that are negating that it's not 8 but 4, or the Inyan Chiyubi, or this is the style, these are the 4 garments designated for Yom Kippur according to the Rambam. Beis, the other point, Sibig the Loban is verbunden mit Avedes Hayoim, or der mit Knisa Lifnim, or that whether it's connected with the service of the day or we're entering it inside, so that this is also, Zayin totally Zabazeh, they hinge one another. If we should say that this is a special din and a positive of big deloven, as the Rambam learns, is misaber zu zogen ados is a din navedesayem, then it's logical to say that this is a for the day. Borum kashem vi big de kuna bechlal. Zainen verbunden mit Avodas HaKohanim, just like the garments of Kahuna generally is associated with the service that they do. Azoi is the din miyuchat for Big Lavan. So likewise, this special din of Big Lavan that we use, the Kohen Gadol uses according to the Rambam on Yom Kippur, aparatin that Avodah miyuchadas from them tog. It's a detail of the specific work of that day. So that day needs these garments. But if we're learning like Rashi that the big deloven are just negating not 8, the starting in time big dissolve, you can't have the golden garment. So then it's logical to say as that Isur is verbunden nicht mit der Avodah Gufa. Then it's not the Avodah itself that it's associated that all the Avodah Ziyayim nor mit der Mokoi from the Avodah was the lost it on the initial Zoh, but it has to do with the place. The pnim that does not allow for an inyan shel zov of gold because that's where the atonement takes place. Yudalef, the Rebbe learns now a lesson. This Rashi, then Pirush Rashi of Men Areis, Acherei in Avodas Hashem. We have a lesson in the service of Hashem. Shas Hayid vil poil zayin lifnei Hashem titoru. He wants to impact. He wants to go before Hashem to purify himself. Benegeya Zichras, as it relates to himself, Benegeya, and as it relates to Zweiten Niden, bringen alle men lifnei Hashem, to bring everybody before Hashem. Nenter zum Ebersten, the Terosel, it's also closer to the Hashem, to his Torah and his mitzvahs. Dafür zum allem ersten wissen, so first he must know, as der Zul fordert sich, as soll reingehen lifnim, that it's necessary for this, that it must go into the inside. Darf sich der Grund when he must reach, dig in to the reingehen and enter in sein Pnimis HaNefesh, into his inner of his soul. He has to all the ways to dig into the inner of his soul. And with that power going into the Pnim in his inside, that's the way he can accomplish a atonement and a purity of zich for himself and somebody else. You need to go in lifnim and you're inside. Und der Weg reingehen lifnim, and how do you get into the inside is durch oiston, sein lekovet luciferus. Take off your honor, your beauty, those garments, the big days of the golden garments. Kozman that fills sich lekovet luciferus, as long as you feel yourself honorable and beautiful, cannot get into the answer, can go into the inner intention. Only when you find yourself feel yourself as an ordinary kohen. Need be big dezov, nor be big deloven, kulam shalbutz, not with golden garment, but with the linen garments, all the boots. By him is meir der inyan hapshitus. By him shines the idea of simplicity. Kohen hedges, simple. Those dafke macht him roy, that makes him fitting zu reingehen lifnim, to enter the inside, durch dem poilna kapora betara, in that way to impact an atonement and a purity, nicht nur auf sich, not just on himself, but also somebody else, bis to the extent as v'chiper ba'adei, u'ba'ad beisoi, u'ba'ad kol Yisrael, atone for himself, for his family, and for the entire Jewish community. This is Mesiches Shabbos Parshas Acherei, Tovshin Lamed Vav.